Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I thought I'd put a quick vlog together to let you know about what's going on. Tend to do this from time to time, as you're all aware. What the hell has been going on with the channel? Well, there's been a lack of videos. The reason for that is that I was over in LA shooting something really cool that I can't tell you about yet. Yeah, I know, announcements of announcements, lame as hell, but I was working with Husky and a few other game station folks on a really cool project that I can't talk about yet. You will hear from it soon enough, don't worry. It was definitely out of the ordinary, certainly not something that you've seen before on this channel, and I think as a result you might like it a lot, or you might horribly despise it. All of these are a possibility, I don't know. But whatever the case, that should be coming your way, and as a result of having to fly over there, quickly get that done, fly back, and then go straight into the 3-day-long marathon of the Shoutcraft tournament, I have not had a lot of time to make videos, and it gets worse. Sorry, I am going to New York tomorrow, because I've got to go and do a little bit of casting there for Blizzard and MLG at the World Championship Series North America, and also I've got to look after our players who have come over from South Korea to actually compete in that event. So I'm a little bit busy. I would expect to be back on Thursday, and I'll hopefully be back to kind of regular schedule by Friday towards the end of the week. The good news is that after that, everything should be hunky-dory. So, a couple of announcements. Firstly, I've decided not to go to E3. I was umming and ahhing over this because, honestly, the last time we went to E3, it was a complete waste of time and a huge waste of money. It did untold damage to the channel, actually. It took several months to recover the number of views that we usually get, simply because there was like 3 weeks of either no content or really bad content. Not good. Not good at all. So I decided to forgo it for that reason, and mainly because I have to look after the missus right now. Now, those of you who are not aware, about a month or so ago, she actually broke her ankle and, I believe, a bone in her leg. It was multiple fractures. So, as a result, I've had to take on pretty much all of the stuff in the house, as well as dealing with my usual work schedule, which is pretty damn full as it is, and making sure that she's okay. It's also caused a number of problems because I can't drive in the US yet, so we're pretty much housebound right now. It's a little bit difficult to get around and actually get stuff done. So that's really disrupting things a lot. I really do need to spend time at home to make sure that her recovery process ends up being okay, and also I need to spend more time with the kid for very obvious reasons, especially considering that the summer vacation is coming up for him, so there'll be a lot more on my plate in that regard. So that's really the biggest reason that I decided not to go to E3, and of course the ancillary reasons, like it's bad. You know, that's generally a pretty good reason not to go. I'm surprised, but then also not that much, that people really like the idea of E3 when they look at it from the outside. I think they think it's some kind of video gaming mecca, and in reality, E3 is a gigantic waste of time. I don't know of a single games journalist, personality, or anything along those lines that actually enjoys E3. Even the kind of guys that just go there to doss around and talk to people and play a couple of games, they don't like it either because it's not even well set up for that. That's the kind of thing that PAX excels in. E3 is really good at being a gigantic money sink for a lot of companies and really not getting an awful lot done. I still don't really know why it actually exists in its current form. I certainly think PAX and Gamescom specifically are much better events, but there you go. Well, to the credit, they have been making some efforts over the last couple of years to improve the experience, but I just think they need to figure out where they want to go with it. It's really odd to have a lot of pizzazz when it's supposed to be an industry-only event. If it really was an industry-only event, then they wouldn't care about that kind of stuff, and yet they're still putting the booth babes out, there's still swag all over the place. This is not the kind of thing that actual industry professionals care about. It's really only the 80, 90, maybe 95% of people that end up in there because they have some connection to the games industry, maybe just because they work for GameStop or whatever. Those are the kind of guys that go for that, and it's actually even more insufferable than just being open to the general public, because those are the kind of guys that are really irritating and have a tendency to just go there purely for swag and stupid crap, so the lines are really long and everything's just a complete mess. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to that. We have, however, booked everything for PAX Prime, so I will definitely be there. That's in Seattle. We've got hotels booked and everything like that, so that does probably mean another Game Station podcast panel, hopefully in a larger venue, since we did pack ours out in about 10 minutes, which, you know, it was pretty unfortunate because we had to turn a lot of people away from that. So hopefully we'll be able to do another panel there, and I'll be implementing the changes to the coverage style, which is based on all the feedback that we took and analyzed from the video that we put out after PAX saying, hey, you know, what did we do wrong? What can we do better for you guys? So got a whole new style of coverage that should hopefully be a little bit better for you. But yeah. That's the word there. That also does mean that I don't think I'm going to be doing any major events over the next couple of months, which means that I can dedicate a lot of time to the channel and really get everything going. And we had a nice period where I was getting 5 content patches a week out and all the WTF content that I felt was worth putting out there and things like that. And then we hit a few snags, as tends to be the case. It's a bit of a delicate balance to strike between going to different cities around the US to do these events, which are for the most part paying gigs, which also involve raising the profile of me as a commentator, as a personality, which is pretty important for my career. We all know, of course, that YouTube is a very unstable place to base your career on, so anything that you can do to shore that up and make inroads within various different industries is pretty damn important. But it's also a case of just bringing more legitimacy to the channel, and the more of that I do, the more good games I can get for you. It's really what it comes down to. If you become a channel that is considered legitimate and a coverage source that is considered trustworthy, then you will get those pre-release titles, and that means I can give you videos of stuff that isn't out yet that you actually want to see. I'm not just talking about small indies, even though I love doing those, I'm talking about big games. When a well-established network like, say, Revision 3, and of course the legend that is Adam Sessler, gets to get hands-on with these games and put out a video, I want to be that guy. Yeah? I want to be on that level. And going to these events and actually taking part in this industry activity is pretty vital for that. You can't just sit at home making videos every day. You have to actually be out there marketing your brand and making contacts with the people that can actually make this stuff happen. It's kind of an insufferable part of the industry, but it is the reality of the industry. You must do that. So that's the reason why I go to a lot of these events. But it also sucks because this is, for the most part, a one-man job. We have a couple of people on staff, but I'm the guy making the videos. So if I am not there making the videos, then there is nothing on the channel for you to watch, which kind of sucks because that means we don't get paid. Businesses don't tend to survive long if they don't have any income, so that's something to consider. Alright, what else is there to talk about? Let's talk a little bit about this Nintendo thing. I don't want to go into huge detail because I've already talked a lot about the ethics and the principles behind it and why I feel that it's a really bad idea. But I'd like to talk specifically just to quell a few concerns from some of you. Some of you think that this is going to get more crazy, and it might. You know, there may be other companies that actually decide to get onto this bandwagon, and that it might affect channels like this. Well, I can safely say that it won't, and the reason that it won't is because pretty much every video that I make now is made with the express permission of the people that actually own the rights to the IP. So almost every game that I've made a video of in around the past year or so, I think, has been of a game whereby I've received the code directly from the developer or the publisher. Not only is this good because that means we don't have to pay for the games that we put on the channel, that's a good thing indeed, but it also means that that comes with express permission to use that footage in the capacity that we are using it in. So we have full express rights from every single developer and publisher to do what we're currently doing. Stuff like the regular series like Dota and all of the StarCraft stuff, we have also express permission from Blizzard, from Valve to actually create that content, which means that we are under no risk whatsoever of having that kind of stuff affect us. This is also the reason I get a little bit annoyed when people turn around and claim that I'm the selfish one for defending these other channels. These kind of guys don't necessarily have the benefits that we do. We have a very, very large network of contacts when it comes to PR firms. We are in deep with a lot of them, and the publishers and the devs, and that's mostly due to the hard work of Chris, our PR guy, and his predecessor, Frank. Those guys work their asses off to make this network of contacts, and a lot of people don't have that, yeah? And as a direct result, they use footage legitimately, yeah, say in either a journalistic piece, an analytical piece, a critical piece, all of these things that are protected by fair use doctrine, which, yes, I am well aware, is just a legal defense. It is not an outright law. It is something that is taken on a case-by-case basis, but they are making this honest content that can be affected by this content ID matches, and this will only get worse if more and more companies decide to adopt this role. So if you just want to talk about that and you don't want to talk about Let's Plays, then that's in itself a legitimate reason not to do this kind of stuff. Content Match does not discriminate very well. It is particularly bad at that kind of stuff. That's what happens when you have an automated system. There are many, many instances of that taking the wrong video out and there's really not a huge amount you can do about it. We can, because as a very established channel that is also partnered with a network that has a lot of prominence, we do have the ability to appeal that kind of stuff, but a lot of channels don't. So that's my concern there. As much as it would be nice for some of my competition to be eliminated, and Lord knows there's a lot of Let's Play garbage that I feel could be swept off the internet and no one would really notice, it's still not a good thing for the gaming scene in general. I don't see a situation where it actually benefits the gaming scene in any way. Nor consumers, of course, which is what I try to prioritize on this channel. But yeah, you've heard my opinion on it. It's certainly not going to be changing based on some of the feedback we've seen so far. A lot of people just don't seem to get it. So, hey, whatever. Not much I can do there. I can keep repeating myself till I'm blue in the face, but if it's not going to convince people, then why even bother? Just go after the people that you can convince rather than the stubborn ones. Now, let's talk about Total Digestive, shall we? So, what I've gathered so far from the feedback is that most people view it as a waste of time. Now, I didn't necessarily think that it would be well received, but I thought it was a useful piece of utility content. Something that allowed people to get a gist of what was on the channel without having to watch all of it. My videos are long, very, very long indeed. And as a direct result, it's very easy to either miss them or just not have the time to watch them, so a summing up of opinion seemed like it would be useful. The feedback coming back from it seems to be that is not the case. The actual video itself is not getting a lot of views at all based on the amount of time it takes to make it, and a lot of people are expressing the desire that I spend my time doing something else, i.e. a piece of content they would actually like to watch. I've said it many times before, I don't take individual requests, but I do read large pieces of feedback. Like, if several thousand people are all kind of saying the same thing, then that's something that I have to take into consideration. There won't be one this week, and there's no point, because there was barely any content that went out this week anyway. I will try and do another one next week. We may run it up to 5 episodes, see how it does from there, and then if it's not a viable piece of content, we'll just stop doing it. At the end of the day, we do have to cater to a larger audience, and if I'm doing one less WTF is because I'm spending time doing a Total Digestive, when that is doing, what, 4 or 5 times less views than WTF is, then I've got to consider that the majority of my viewers want this and not that. And yes, I do have to abide by that, because that's what gets the channel views. That's what makes the channel successful. You can't just ignore the wishes of the overall subscriber base. And that's the kind of thing you can find out just by looking at graphs saying, oh, well, this sucks in comparison to this. This is a problem, we need to deal with that. So that's the situation we're currently in with that particular show. Alright, what else? There's a couple of things I'd like you to check out if you have the time. Over on Geek and Sundry, I actually took part in an episode of Tabletop with Will Wheaton, as well as Greg Zeshuk, the former head of BioWare. Yeah, I was around a table playing a big monster game with the former head of BioWare. You can imagine how well that went. No, he's actually great. I mean, I've always known he was great. I had a chance to speak to him at the Eurogamer show a couple of years back. Incredibly smart guy. Now is doing brewing. That's his passion, and that's what he wants to do. And I was also on there with Wheezy Waiter, who is a fantastic comedian. Strongly recommend that you go and check that out, because it was a very entertaining episode, at least for me. Maybe nobody else found it entertaining, but I thought it was funny. Not that that means a damn thing. But that is over on youtube.com/geekandsundry. It is for the game King of Tokyo. So please, by all means, do go and have a look at that. There's also their version of extended interview, which is like 2 minutes of stuff from me, which is really just like a story about Battlestar Galactica. But yeah, that's really about it. Big thanks to Felicia Day, who actually got me on the show. That was really cool. And also to Will Wheaton for just being an absolute baller. The guy's really cool in person. I don't think anyone really doubted otherwise. It's not like someone said, yeah, Will Wheaton's a complete asshole. No, he's awesome. Really, really cool show. And the guys that actually produce that are super professional. I've not really had a huge opportunity to work with people like that, so it was really awesome to get that opportunity, and hopefully that kind of thing will happen more often in the future. Now, Game Station Podcast, that is not going to be happening this week, I'm afraid. Didn't happen last week either, because I was in LA doing this filming. The podcast will hopefully be taken over by someone else for this week. That may or may not result in disaster. You know how that tends to go. So I'm just making you aware that that is going to happen. Pretty sure that means you don't get to blame me for it. You will anyway, and I suppose that's understandable. A couple of other things to remind you of. There will be the Shoutcraft Grand Final in New York. That's going to be happening on the 21st of May. Supposedly at about 3 PM EDT, although that time is subject to change. Do feel free to follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/TotalBiscuit for updates on that. Generally the best place for me to get information out to you. YouTube is highly unreliable when it comes to getting information out to you en masse. So Twitter is way, way better for that kind of thing. And if you don't want to follow my Twitter, we do actually have a Cynical Brit app for Android phones, which is free, which actually lets you see my tweets without actually having to use Twitter, which is pretty damn helpful for a lot of people. Because, let's be honest, Twitter's completely useless. But one way or the other, I would suggest perhaps downloading that. Look for the Cynical app on the Google Play Store. As I said, it is a free download. And for those asking about Blood Bowl, yes, it is going to resume after I come back from New York. We had Side Strafe away in Portugal for a couple of weeks. Dodger apparently lost her last game, like on both sides. The recording was completely balked, so she did win, which is great for her, of course, and means that she should be going through to the playoffs. I'll have to play Side Strafe, I believe, for the final playoff spot, and then we will go through the playoffs, we'll finish it off, and that'll be that. We definitely bit off more than we could chew with that, and I think it's mostly because it actually ended up being a pretty bad game to do a series on, because it takes so bloody long in 4-minute mode. We're having games going up to 2 hours, and it's not that interesting to watch. If you get a good amount of banter between the two players, that's cool, but keeping that banter up for 2 hours straight with no breaks and no cuts is pretty damn difficult. I'm considering doing a second league only with 40-second turns, though, which would keep the games down to about 15-20 minutes. It also means there's way more opportunity for stupid crap to happen, which is a little bit funnier. The caliber of play will be less. Yes, I know it's a bit difficult for it to get less than it already is, but the caliber of play will certainly be less, but I think that it might be funnier to watch. So I'm considering doing that. We'll see whether or not the Speed Bowl League actually happens. That would be an interesting thing to do. And honestly, I think that's about it. There's nothing else that I can think of that is really a factor right now, so hopefully this has been at least somewhat informative. I'd still, of course, like to apologize to you for not getting all this stuff out, but I feel like I'm apologizing every week at this point, so I should probably just stop apologizing and get shit fixed. So hopefully over the next couple of months you will be seeing exactly what you want to see on the channel. Thank you very much for your support, folks. As always, it does mean a lot. I know I don't express it as much as I should, or I'm just not explicit enough with it. I like to thank people at the end of every video because I think that their time is valuable. I know my time's valuable because I'm a busy bastard, but I would assume that your time is valuable as well, so if you chose to spend it watching my videos, then I should be appreciative of that. And I don't know, maybe I just should be a little bit more clear. Anyway, thank you very much for your support, folks, and I will see you next time.